Commander Jake Morrison sat in his metal chair, staring at the screen in front of him. The blue glow from the computer made his tired face look pale. He had been working at the Earth Defense Force base for 12 hours straight. Outside his window, the morning sun was just starting to rise over the military compound. Jake took a sip of his cold coffee and made a face. It tasted terrible, but he needed the energy. His job was to watch for alien signals from space. Most days, nothing happened. Today felt different. The computer made a soft beeping sound. Jake looked at the screen and saw new data coming in. His heart started beating faster. This was not a normal signal. It was coming from somewhere very far away in space. "Lisa, get over here," Jake called to his partner. Lisa Cooper was sitting at another desk nearby. She was the best at figuring out what alien messages meant. Lisa walked over and looked at the screen. Her brown eyes got wide. "Jake, this is big. This signal is not meant for us. Someone sent it to the wrong place." Jake nodded. "Can you figure out what it says?" Lisa sat down and started typing on her keyboard. Her fingers moved fast across the cross keys. After 20 minutes, she stopped and looked at Jake with a strange expression. "You are not going to believe this," she said. "Try me," Jake replied. Lisa pointed at the screen. "This message is from something called the Galactic Council. They have a list of every planet with life on it. Earth is on that list." Jake felt his stomach drop. "What do they say about us?" Lisa read from the screen. "Earth, human species. Classification, low risk, minimal threat level." Jake stared at her. "Low risk? Are they joking?" "There is more," Lisa said. She kept reading. "Military capability, limited. Aggression level, standard. Overall danger to galactic peace, very low." Jake stood up from his chair. He started walking back and forth across the room. This made no sense. Humans had nuclear weapons. They fought wars all the time. Earth should be marked as dangerous. "Lisa, what other planets are on this list?" Jake asked. Lisa scrolled through the data. "Here is a weird one. The Zentari. They live on a planet called Meditation Prime. The aliens. They spend all day sitting quietly and thinking peaceful thoughts." "What is their risk level?" Jake asked. "Moderate risk," Lisa said. Jake stopped walking. "Peaceful monks are more dangerous than us?" "It gets stranger," Lisa said. "The Delvan. People live on Art World. They spend their time painting pictures and making music. Their risk level is high risk." Jake felt confused and angry. "Artists are more dangerous than nuclear weapons?" Ben Carter walked into the room. He was the communications officer. Ben was young, but very smart. "What are you two talking about?" he asked. Lisa explained what they had found. Ben listened with his mouth open. "This does not make sense," Ben said. "Why would aliens think we are not dangerous?" Jake sat back down in his chair. "I do not know, but we need to find out. This could change everything we know about our place in space." Lisa saved all the data to a secure file. "Jake, if this information is real, then aliens have been watching us for a long time. They know about our weapons and our wars. But somehow, they think we are not a threat." Ben walked over to his own computer. "I am going to check if there are more signals like this one. Maybe we can learn more." Jake nodded. "Good idea, but we need to keep this secret for now. If people find out that aliens think we are weak, it could cause panic." For the next few hours, the three of them worked together. They found more alien messages. Each one made the mystery deeper. Lisa discovered that the alien classification system looked at many things. It measured technology, population size, and how aggressive each species was. But there seemed to be other factors too. Factors that the humans could not understand. "Look at this," Lisa said. She pointed to a part of the message that was hard to read. It talks about something called reality manipulation potential. What do you think that means? Jake shook his head. I have no idea. Ben found something interesting too. There are energy readings around Earth. Someone or something has been scanning our planet for years. We never noticed because the scans are very subtle. Jake felt a chill run down his back. Someone has been watching us? It looks that way, Ben said as the day went on. More people joined their secret investigation. Dr. Amanda Foster came to help. She was a scientist who studied alien life. Ryan Clark joined them too. He worked in intelligence and was good at solving mysteries. Dr. Foster looked at all the data they had collected. This classification system is not about military power, she said. It is measuring something else, something we do not understand yet. Ryan Clark had been quiet for most of the day. Finally, he spoke up. What if the aliens are not wrong? What if there is something about humans that we do not know ourselves? Everyone in the room became silent. The idea was scary and exciting. At the same time, Jake looked at his team. These were some of the smartest people on Earth. If they could not figure this out, who could? We need to dig deeper, Jake said. We need to find out why aliens think we are low risk. And we need to find out what they are really afraid of. As the sun set outside the base, Jake realized that this discovery would change everything. Humans had always thought they were alone in space. Now they knew that aliens had been watching them all along. And for some reason, those aliens were not afraid of Earth's weapons or armies. The question was, what did the aliens know about humans that humans did not know about themselves? 3 weeks had passed since Jake Morrison and his team found the alien message. The secret group had grown bigger. Professor Carl Stevens joined them. He was an expert at understanding alien languages. Maya Johnson came too. She was very good at making plans and seeing patterns. The team worked in a hidden room deep inside the Earth Defense Force base. The walls were covered with papers and computer screens. Charts and graphs filled every empty space. Coffee cups and food containers sat on every desk. Jake looked tired. He had not slept well in days. The mystery was eating at him. Carl, have you figured out more about this classification system? He asked. Professor Carl Stevens pushed his glasses up his nose. He was older than the others, with gray hair and kind eyes. I have been studying hundreds of alien species files, he said. The pattern is very strange. Maya Johnson looked up from her computer. She had been working on the data for hours. I think I found something important, she said. Everyone gathered around Maya's desk. She pointed at her screen. Look at these numbers. The aliens are not measuring what we think they are measuring. Lisa Cooper leaned closer. What do you mean? Maya typed on her keyboard. Charts appeared on the screen. The Centauri monks have no weapons. They never fight wars. But they are marked as moderate risk. Why? Dr. Amanda Foster studied the data. What makes them different from other peaceful species? They meditate for hours every day, Maya said. All of them, together, at the same time. They focus their minds on the same thoughts. Carl Stevens nodded slowly. I have been reading their cultural files. The Centauri believe that thinking together can change reality itself. Jake felt a strange feeling in his stomach. You mean they think thoughts can change the physical world? Not. Just think it, Carl said. According to alien reports, they actually do it. When all the Centauri focus on the same idea, strange things happen around their planet. Ben Carter had been quiet, but now he spoke up. What kind of strange things? Carl pulled up another file. Ships passing near their planet report that their instruments stop working normally. Time seems to move differently. Some pilots say they see things that should not be possible. Dr. Foster shook her head. That does not make sense. Thoughts cannot change physics. But what if they can? Maya asked. What if that is what the aliens are really measuring? Lisa brought up the files on the Delvan people. These artists are marked as high risk. They spend their time painting and making music. How is that dangerous? Carl had studied the Delvan files too. Their art is not normal art. When Delvan artists work together on big projects, their paintings seem to come alive. Their music can make listeners see visions of other worlds. Jake walked to the window and looked out at the sky. So the aliens are not afraid of weapons or armies. They are afraid of species that can change reality with their minds. That seems to be correct, Maya said. The more a species can work together mentally, the higher their risk rating. Dr. Foster was still skeptical. But humans cannot do anything like that. We can barely agree on simple things, let alone change reality. Ben Carter had been working at his computer while the others talked. Now he looked up with a worried expression. Amanda, you might want to see this. Dr. Foster walked over to Ben's desk. He showed her brain scan images on his screen. These are human brain scans from our medical database, Ben said. Look at this area here. He pointed to a section of the brain that was highlighted in red. What am I looking at? Dr. Foster asked. This is the same brain structure that the Centauri have, Ben said, and the Delvan, and every other species that is marked as high risk. The room became very quiet. Everyone stared at the brain scans. You are saying humans have the same brain parts as these reality-changing aliens? Jake asked. Not just the same parts, Ben said. According to these scans, humans have bigger and more complex versions of these structures. Dr. Foster sat down in a chair. She looked shocked. But we cannot do what those other species do. We cannot change reality with our thoughts. Maya was typing frantically on her computer. Maybe we can, but something is stopping us. What do you mean? Jake asked. Maya pulled up more data. Look at this. I found energy readings around Earth that Ben discovered earlier. They are not random. They form a pattern. The screen showed a map of Earth with colored lines around it. The lines formed complex web that covered the entire planet. It looks like a net, Lisa said. Exactly, Maya replied. And it is not natural. Someone built this. Carl Stevens studied the energy pattern. This looks like some kind of suppression field. Something designed to block or limit brain activity. Jake felt his heart racing. You mean something is preventing humans from using these mental abilities? It would explain everything, Dr. Foster said. She was getting excited now. If humans naturally have strong reality-changing abilities, but something is blocking them, then we would appear harmless to aliens. Ben pulled up more sensor data. The field is very old. It has been around Earth for thousands of years, maybe longer. Lisa looked at the data with wide eyes. Someone has been controlling human development for thousands of years? It looks that way, Maya said. Jake walked back and forth across the room. His mind was racing with possibilities. If this is true, then humans are not weak. We are prisoners. Prisoners who do not know they are in prison. Carl added. Dr. Foster was studying the brain scans again. These structures in human brains are not just similar to other species. They are more advanced, much more advanced. What does that mean? Ben asked. If humans could use these abilities fully, Dr. Foster said, we might be the most powerful species in the galaxy. The room became silent again. Everyone was thinking about what this meant. Jake looked at his team. So the aliens marked us as low risk, not because we are weak, but because something is keeping us weak? That is what the evidence suggests, Maya said. Lisa had a frightening thought. What if the aliens put this suppression field around Earth? What if they are the ones keeping us controlled? Carl shook his head. The field is too old. It was here before most of these alien civilizations existed. Then who built it? Jake asked. No one had an answer. Ben checked his instruments again. The field is not perfect. Sometimes it fluctuates. Gets weaker in some places. What happens when it gets weaker? Dr. Foster asked. I am not sure, Ben said. But I have been tracking unusual reports from around the world. Places where people claim to have strange experiences. Visions, telepathy, spontaneous healing. Those reports cluster in areas where the field is weakest. Jake realized what this meant. Some humans are already starting to break through the suppression. Very few, and only slightly, Ben said. But yes. Maya looked at her data again. If we could find a way to weaken the field more, or shut it off completely, we could wake up humanity's true abilities. Jake finished. Dr. Foster looked worried. But should we? If the aliens classify reality-changing species as high risk, what would happen if they found out humans could do it too? Carl Stevens had been reading more alien files. According to their records, species with strong reality manipulation abilities are not just marked as high risk. They are actively monitored. And if they become too powerful. What? Jake asked. They are eliminated, Carl said quietly. The team sat in silence, understanding the terrible choice they might have to make. They could try to free humanity from whatever was suppressing them. But doing so might put the entire human race in danger. Jake looked at each member of his team. We need to learn more before we make any decisions. We need to understand exactly what this suppression field is and who built it. And we need to find out what happens if we turn it off. Maya added. As the night grew darker outside, the team continued their work. They knew they had stumbled onto the biggest secret in human history. The question was, what were they going to do about it? 2 months after the discovery, Jake Morrison's team had grown to include new members. Tony Pierce was an engineer who understood complex technology. Kelly Barnes was a pilot who could fly any aircraft. The secret project had taken over their lives. They worked in shifts around the clock. The hidden room in the base now looked like a war room. Maps covered the walls. Computer screens showed data streaming in from around the world. The team had placed sensors in dozens of locations to study the suppression field. Jake stood in front of a large map of Earth. Red dots marked the locations of suppression field generators. We have found 12 devices so far, he said to the group. 6 in the ocean trenches, 4 in the polar ice caps, 2 buried deep in mountains. Dr. Amanda Foster pointed to the dots on the map. The pattern is clear. They are placed to create a perfect energy web around the entire planet. Tony Pierce had been studying the technical data. These devices are incredibly advanced. The technology is thousands of years ahead of anything we can build. Maya Johnson pulled up historical data on her computer. I have been looking at major events in human history. Wars, disasters, cultural conflicts. Many of them happen during times when the suppression field gets stronger. What do you mean? Lisa Cooper asked. Maya showed them charts on her screen. Look at this. Before World War I, the field strength increased by 30%. Before World War II, it increased by 40%. The same pattern appears before most major conflicts. Carl Stevens looked at the data with growing concern. You are saying, this field does not just suppress our abilities. It also influences human behavior? It appears so, Maya said. When the field is stronger, humans become more aggressive and divided. When it is weaker, there are more periods of peace and cooperation. Jake felt sick to his stomach. Someone has been controlling human civilization for thousands of years. Ben Carter had been monitoring alien communications. I have more bad news. The aliens know about the suppression field. They call it the containment protocol. Everyone turned to look at Ben. What do they say about it? Jake asked. Ben read from his notes. They refer to it as an ancient safeguard and a necessary protection. They are very careful not to interfere with it. Dr. Foster shook her head. So the aliens did not build it, but they know what it is for? It gets worse, Ben said. I intercepted a message that talks about field maintenance. Someone or something is actively keeping the suppression system running. Kelly Barnes had been quiet during the discussion. She was a practical person who liked action more than theory. We need to get close to one of these devices, she said. We need to see what we are dealing with. Jake nodded. Kelly is right. We have learned all we can from long-distance sensors. We need to examine a generator up close. Tony Pierce pulled up technical specifications. The closest device is in the Mariana Trench. It is buried under 7 miles of water and rock. That is impossible to reach, Lisa said. Not impossible. Kelly replied. Difficult, but not impossible. We have deep-sea vehicles that can go that far down. Dr. Foster looked worried. What if approaching the device triggers some kind of alarm? What if the aliens find out what we are doing? Jake had been thinking about this problem for weeks. We have to take the risk. We cannot make good decisions without understanding what we are dealing with. 3 weeks later, Kelly Barnes piloted a small submarine toward the deepest part of the ocean. Jake and Tony Pierce were with her. The submarine was equipped with the most advanced sensors Earth had available. As they descended through the dark water, the pressure outside grew enormous. The submarine's hull creaked and groaned. After 6 hours, they reached the ocean floor. There, Tony said, pointing through the viewing window. 200 meters ahead. In the submarine's lights, they could see a structure that did not belong on Earth. It was smooth and metallic, with a surface that seemed to shift and flow like liquid. The device was about the size of a small building, but it felt much larger. Somehow, the energy readings are off the charts, Kelly said, looking at her instruments. This thing is incredibly powerful. Jake stared at the alien device. How long has this been here? Tony checked his geological scanners. The rock around. It is at least 10,000 years old, maybe older. As they moved closer, strange things began to happen. The submarine's instruments started showing impossible readings. The compass spun wildly. The depth gauge showed they were simultaneously at 7 miles deep and at sea level. We need to get back, Kelly said. Something is wrong with our equipment. But Jake was not ready to leave. Move us closer. I want to see more. As the submarine approached the device, Maya Johnson's voice crackled over the radio from the surface. Jake, are you there? We are getting strange readings up here. We are here, Jake replied. What kind of readings? The suppression field is fluctuating. It is getting weaker in your area. Tony Pierce suddenly grabbed Jake's arm. Look at the device. It is changing. The smooth surface of the alien structure was developing patterns. Lines of light were moving across its surface like veins. The entire device seemed to be responding to their presence. It knows we are here, Kelly said quietly. Jake felt something strange happening in his mind. For just a moment, he could sense the thoughts of his 2 companions. He could feel their fear and excitement as if they were his own emotions. Did you feel that? Tony asked. Yes, Jake and Kelly said at the same time. The connection lasted only a few seconds, but it was unmistakable. With the suppression field weakened, they had briefly experienced what other alien species took for granted. We need to leave now, Kelly said. If the field keeps weakening, who knows what might happen? As they ascended back to the surface, Jake thought about what they had experienced. The brief mental connection had felt natural and right. It made him wonder what humanity was missing by having these abilities suppressed. Back at the base, the young Piang team analyzed all the data they had collected. The alien device was clearly part of a network that surrounded Earth. Each generator was connected to all the others, creating a web of control that covered the entire planet. Dr. Foster made a disturbing discovery. The system is not just suppressing our abilities. It is also monitoring us. Every time a human comes close to breaking through the suppression, the system records it. What does it do with that information? Jake asked. I am not sure, Dr. Foster said, but there are records going back thousands of years. Every mystic, every person who claimed to have psychic abilities, every unexplained phenomenon, it has all been recorded. Maya Johnson had been studying the historical data. There is something else. Throughout history, there have been people who seem to break through the suppression more than others. Religious leaders, great artists, scientific geniuses. They all show signs of enhanced mental abilities. What happened to them? Carl Stevens asked. Maya's expression grew dark. Many of them died young or disappeared. Others were discredited or forgotten. It is as if something actively worked to prevent them from sharing their abilities with others. Ben Carter had been monitoring alien communications during the submarine mission. The aliens noticed the field fluctuation. They are concerned. I intercepted several messages talking about containment breach and protocol failure. Jake realized they were running out of time. If the aliens are watching the suppression field this closely, they will notice if we interfere with it more. Tony Pierce had been thinking about the alien device they had seen. The technology is incredibly advanced, but it is also very old. These systems might be breaking down naturally. What do you mean? Dr. Foster asked. The device we saw was responding to our presence in ways that seemed unplanned, Tony said. If the system is degrading, it might not be able to maintain full suppression much longer. Kelly Barnes had been quiet since their return from the ocean. Finally, she spoke up. When that field weakened, when we could sense each other's thoughts, it felt like coming home, like remembering something we had forgotten. Jake nodded. He had felt the same thing. The question is, what do we do now? Do we try to wake up humanity? Gradually? Or do we leave things as they are? Lisa Cooper looked at the data on her screen. If we do nothing, the system might fail on its own. But that could take decades or centuries. And if we actively interfere, Carl asked, we could trigger a response from whoever is maintaining the system, Maya said. Or we could wake up abilities that humanity is not ready to handle. Dr. Foster had been studying the brain scans again. There is something else we need to consider. The suppression is not just limiting our abilities. It might also be protecting us from something. What do you mean? Jake asked. What if human mental abilities are so powerful that they are dangerous even to ourselves? Dr. Foster asked. What if the suppression field is not just a prison, but also a safety mechanism? The team sat in silence, contemplating the weight of their discovery. They had found the truth about humanity's place in the universe. But the truth was more complex and dangerous than any of them had imagined. Jake looked at each member of his team. They had become more than colleagues. They had become the guardians of humanity's greatest secret. We need to make a decision, Jake said. But first, we need to understand what we are really dealing with. We need to find out who built the system and why. As night fell, the decision was made during a late-night meeting in the hidden room. Jake Morrison looked at his tired team and spoke the words that would change everything. We are going to try it, he said. We are going to shut down one of the smaller generators and see what happens. Dr. Amanda Foster shook her head. Jake, this is incredibly dangerous. We have no idea what we might unleash. We also have no idea what we might be missing, Jake replied. Humanity has a right to know what we really are. Maya Johnson had selected the target. There is a small generator buried in the mountains of Colorado. It only covers about 50 square miles. If something goes wrong, the effect will be limited. Tony Pierce had spent weeks studying the alien technology. I think I can. Disable it temporarily. If we see bad results, we can turn it back on. Kelly Barnes would fly them to the location in a military helicopter. Ben Carter would monitor alien communications for any response. Carl Stevens and Lisa Cooper would watch from the base and coordinate with local authorities if needed. 3 days later, the team stood on a mountain peak in Colorado. Below them, the small town of Cedar Falls spread across the valley. 3,000 people lived there, completely unaware that they were about to become part of the most important experiment in human history. Tony Pierce worked on a device that looked like a metal briefcase filled with complex electronics. This should interfere with the suppression generator's signal, he said. I can only keep it disrupted for a few hours. Jake looked down at the peaceful town. Smoke rose from chimneys. Children played in the streets. People went about their normal lives. Are we doing the right thing? He asked. Dr. Foster put her hand on his shoulder. We will not know until we try. Tony finished his preparations. Everyone ready? Once I activate this, there is no going back. The team nodded. Tony pressed a button on his device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the device began to hum softly. Lights flickered across its surface. Field disruption is working, Tony said. The suppression generator is offline. They watched the town below through binoculars. At first, everything looked normal. People continued their daily activities. Cars moved along the streets. Nothing seemed different. Then Maya noticed something. Look at the elementary school playground, she said. Jake focused his binoculars on the school. Children were playing, but their games were strange. Instead of running around randomly, they were moving in perfect patterns. Complex geometric shapes formed and dissolved as the children moved together. It is like they are all thinking the same thoughts, Dr. Foster said. Over the next hour, more changes became visible. At the local auto repair shop, mechanic Pete Wilson was working on a broken engine. But instead of using tools, he was placing his hands on the machinery and somehow fixing it through touch alone. At the town's small hospital, the team watched as patients began recovering from illnesses at impossible speeds. A man who had arrived with a broken leg was walking normally within minutes. This is incredible, Lisa Cooper said over the radio from the base. Medical readings from the area show healing rates that should not be possible. At the local school, teacher Susan Miller was conducting a class unlike any other. She was not speaking, but her students were all writing the same answers on their papers at the same time. They were sharing knowledge directly through their minds. Farmer Dan Cooper was working in his fields outside of town. As the team watched, his crops began growing visibly faster. Plants that should have taken weeks to mature were reaching full size in hours. The entire community is working together without even talking, Maya observed. It is like they are all connected. But the most amazing change was in the people themselves. Through their binoculars, the team could see that everyone in Cedar Falls looked happier. Conflicts that had existed for years were being resolved. Neighbors were helping each other in ways they never had before. It is like they are remembering how to be human, Jake said quietly. However, their observation was interrupted by Ben Carter's urgent voice over the radio. Jake, we have a problem. Alien communications are going crazy. They know something is happening. Jake grabbed his radio. What are they saying? Multiple messages about probability fluctuations and reality distortions, Ben replied. They are sending scout ships to investigate. Dr. Foster checked her instruments. The energy readings are off the charts. What is happening in Cedar Falls is sending ripples through space-time that can be detected from light years away. Tony Pierce looked worried. The field disruption is stronger than I expected. I am not sure I can turn it back on easily. Maya was monitoring the town with advanced sensors. The changes are accelerating. The people down there are developing abilities faster than we anticipated. As if to prove her point, they watched as a group of townspeople gathered in the central square. Without speaking, they began working together to build something. But they were not using their hands. They were manipulating matter directly with their minds. Stone and metal flowed like water under their mental control. Within minutes, they had created a beautiful sculpture that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. "We need to shut this down," Dr. Foster said. "This is happening too fast." Jake was torn. What they were seeing was beautiful and wonderful. The people of Cedar Falls were experiencing their true nature as human beings. But the alien response suggested that this awakening was dangerous. "Tony, can you reactivate the suppression field?" Jake asked. Tony was working frantically on his device. "I am trying, but something is wrong. The people down there are somehow interfering with my equipment. It is like they do not want to go back to sleep." Kelly Barnes pointed to the sky. "Look up." High above them, strange lights were moving across the heavens. The space around Earth was bending and shifting in ways that should not be possible. The awakening in Cedar Falls was affecting reality itself. Ben Carter's voice crackled over the radio again. "Emergency council session has been called by the Galactic Council. They are using terms like extinction event and reality cascade. Jake, whatever is happening down there, it is scaring aliens across the galaxy." Jake made a difficult decision. "Everyone, we are going down to the town. We need to talk to the people directly." "Are you crazy?" Dr. Foster asked. "If we enter that field, we will be affected too." "Maybe that is what we need," Jake replied. "Maybe we need to experience this ourselves to understand it." Bettine climbed down the mountain and entered Cedar Falls the moment they crossed into the area where the suppression field was disabled. Everything changed. Jake felt his mind expand. Suddenly, he could sense the thoughts and feelings of everyone around him, not just his team, but every person in the town. The connection was overwhelming, but also beautiful. Dr. Foster gasped as she experienced the same expansion of consciousness. "This is what we were meant to be," she whispered. Maya Johnson felt her analytical mind connect with patterns in reality that she had never noticed before. She could see the mathematical structures that underlied existence itself. Tony Pierce understood technology in ways he never had before. The machines around him were not separate objects, but extensions of a connected universe. Kelly Barnes felt her awareness expand beyond her physical body. She could sense the wind patterns, the movement of birds, the rotation of the earth itself, that the townspeople welcomed them without surprise. Pete Wilson, the mechanic, approached Jake with a warm smile. "We have been waiting for you," Pete said, though his lips did not move. The words appeared directly in Jake's mind. "How did you know we were coming?" Jake asked, also communicating through thought. "We can see the connections now," replied Susan Miller, the teacher. "We know you are the ones who freed us from the sleep. We are grateful." Dan Cooper, the farmer, gestured toward his rapidly growing crops. "Look what we can do when we remember who we really are. We can heal the earth. We can heal ourselves. We can heal the universe." But even as Jake experienced the wonder of human potential unleashed, he could feel something else. Fear. Not from the townspeople, but from beyond the earth. The aliens were terrified. Through his expanded awareness, Jake could sense alien ships approaching Earth, not to attack, but to contain. They were coming to make sure that what had happened in Cedar Falls would not spread. "We have to make a choice," Jake said to his team and the townspeople. "We can try to hide what we have become, or we can show the universe what humanity really is." Pete Wilson smiled, and in that smile, Jake saw the future of the human race. "We choose to be free," Pete said. "We choose to be human." As the first alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere, the people of Cedar Falls stood together in the town square. They were no longer just 3,000 individuals. They were part of something larger. They were humanity awakening. The suppression field around their town flickered and died completely. Tony Pierce's device sparked and went silent. There was no going back now. Jake looked at his team, at the townspeople, and at the alien ships approaching from space. A real test of humanity was about to begin. "Ben," Jake said into his radio, "send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them we want to talk." The awakening had begun. Soon, the entire galaxy would learn what humans really were, and nothing would ever be the same again. The alien ships arrived 3 days after Cedar Falls awakened. They did not come with weapons or aggression. Instead, they came with fear and desperate hope. Jake Morrison stood in the town square of Cedar Falls, surrounded by his team and the awakened townspeople. Above them, 5 massive alien vessels hung in the sky like dark clouds. The ships were beautiful but alien, with flowing curves that seemed to bend light around them. "They want to talk," Ben Carter reported from his communication. "Equipment. The lead ship is requesting permission to land." Jake looked at Pete Wilson and the other townspeople. Through their mental connection, they made the decision together. "Tell them they can land," Jake said, "but only a small group. We do not want to frighten our neighbors." An hour later, a small alien shuttle landed in the field outside Cedar Falls. 3 beings emerged from the craft. They were tall and graceful, with skin that shifted color like oil on water. These were the Vorthik, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. The lead Vorthik approached Jake with slow, careful movements. When it spoke, the words appeared directly in Jake's mind. "I am Ambassador Zenth," the alien said. "We come not as enemies, but as those who seek understanding. What you have done here threatens the stability of reality itself." Dr. Amanda Foster stepped forward. Through her awakened consciousness, she could sense the alien's emotions. Fear, yes, but also something like sadness. "You know what humans really are, don't you?" she asked. Ambassador Zenth's skin shifted to a deep blue color. "We know. We have always known. That is why the containment protocol was necessary." Jake felt a chill of understanding. "You did not build the suppression field, but you know who did." "Yes," Zenth replied. "We will show you. But first, you must understand the danger you represent." The alien gestured, and suddenly the air roamed. Them filled with images. Jake and his team saw visions of space itself bending and twisting. Planets that phased in and out existence. Stars that burned with impossible colors. This is what happens when humans use their full abilities without control, Zenth explained. Reality becomes unstable. The laws of physics break down. Entire civilizations can be erased by a single human nightmare. Maya Johnson studied the visions with her enhanced analytical mind. "These are not just possibilities. These are memories." "Correct," Zenth said. "This has happened before." Carl Stevens felt pieces of ancient knowledge flowing into his consciousness. "Humans are not from Earth originally." "No," Zenth confirmed. "Your species once ruled this galaxy. Not through conquest, but through unconscious reality manipulation. Human thoughts and emotions shaped the very fabric of space and time." The visions continued. Jake saw images of a vast human civilization spanning hundreds of worlds. But this was not the ordered, technological society he had imagined. It was something far stranger. Human cities floated in impossible geometries. Planets existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The very concept of distance became meaningless when human consciousness could fold space with a thought. "It was beautiful," Zenth admitted, "but it was also chaos. Other species could not survive in a reality that changed constantly based on human dreams and fears. Lisa Cooper was beginning to understand, so the other species worked together to stop us. Not stop, Zenth corrected. Contain. The containment protocol was not built by any single species. It was created by all the remaining civilizations working together, including humans themselves. Jake felt the shock of this revelation. Humans helped build their own prison? The wise among your people understood the danger, Zenth explained. They saw that uncontrolled human consciousness would eventually destroy not just other species, but reality itself. So they made the ultimate sacrifice. The visions showed the final days of the human galactic civilization. Massive ships carrying millions of humans traveled to a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy, Earth. The containment protocol was designed to do more than suppress your abilities, Zenth continued. It was designed to help you forget what you had been, to give you a chance to develop wisdom before regaining power. Dr. Foster felt tears running down her face. Through her enhanced awareness, she could sense the enormous sadness of this ancient decision. Our ancestors gave up everything to protect the universe. But the protocol was never meant to be permanent, Zenth said. It was designed to gradually weaken over thousands of years. As human wisdom grew, your abilities would slowly return. You would learn to control them responsibly. Tony Pierce looked up at the alien ships in the sky, but something went wrong. Yes, Zenth replied. The protocol has been failing for centuries. We have been maintaining it artificially, trying to keep humanity contained until we could find another solution. Ben Carter had been monitoring communications from the other alien ships. They are talking about a full activation of something called the Final Protocol. Zenth's skin turned a dark red color. That would permanently suppress human consciousness. You would never awaken. But you would also never again threaten reality itself. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. You cannot make that choice for humanity. We hoped we would not have to, Zenth said. That is why we are here, to offer you an alternative. Susan Miller, the teacher from Cedar Falls, stepped forward. Her consciousness had been expanding rapidly since the awakening. You want to teach us control. Some of us do, Zenth confirmed. There are species in the galaxy who believe humans can learn to use their abilities responsibly. But others believe you are too dangerous to ever be allowed full freedom. Pete Wilson, the mechanic, had been quietly listening. Now he spoke up. What happens if we refuse both options? What if we choose to break free completely? The alien skin shifted through multiple colors rapidly. Then the galaxy will face the same chaos that existed before. Civilizations will fall. Reality itself may collapse. Jake looked at the people of Cedar Falls. Through their mental connection, he could feel their thoughts. They did not want to give up their newfound abilities. But they also did not want to harm innocent beings. There has to be another way, Jake said. Maya Johnson had been studying the data flowing through her enhanced consciousness. There is, she said suddenly. I can see it in the mathematical structures of reality. Humans do not have to choose between suppression and chaos. What do you mean? Dr. Foster asked. Human consciousness can be trained, Maya explained. Like any other ability, we can learn to shape reality responsibly, but it requires cooperation between humans and other species. Zenth studied Maya with interest. You are proposing a partnership. Yes, Maya said. Some humans learn control from alien teachers. They become bridges between humanity and the galaxy. As they master their abilities, they teach other humans. Gradually, all of humanity awakens, but safely. Jake felt hope for the first time in days. Would the other species accept this? Some would, Zenth replied. Others would not. There would be opposition from both sides. Dan Cooper, the farmer, gestured toward his enhanced crops. We are willing to learn. We want to be part of the galaxy, not its destroyers. Zenth looked at each human in turn. This would be a long process. Generations of careful development. Many humans would have to remain partially suppressed while others learned control. But eventually, all of humanity would be free? Jake asked. Eventually, Zenth confirmed. If you prove that humans can be trusted with the power to reshape reality. Kelly Barnes had been quiet during the discussion. Now she spoke up. What about the aliens who do not want to give us this chance? Zenth's skin darkened. There will be conflict. Some species believe the final protocol is the only safe solution. They will not accept compromise. Jake realized the choice they faced was even more complex than he had thought. Humanity could choose immediate freedom and risk destroying the galaxy. They could accept permanent suppression and remain safe but caged. Or they could choose the difficult path of gradual awakening, knowing it would create conflict among the stars. We need time to discuss this with all of humanity, Jake said. This decision affects every person on Earth. Time is something we do not have much of, Zenth replied. The Galactic Council meets in 7 days. They will vote on the final protocol. If it passes, the choice will be taken from you. Jake looked at his team, at the townspeople of Cedar Falls, and at the alien ambassador. The weight of humanity's future rested on what they decided next. Then we need to move fast, Jake said. We need to show the galaxy that humans can learn control. We need to prove we are worth the risk. Dr. Foster nodded. How do we start? Zenth gestured toward the alien ships. Some of us are willing to begin teaching immediately. But you must understand, this partnership will change both our species. We will learn from you as much as you learn from us. Pete Wilson smiled, and through the mental connection, all the humans felt his hope. And let's begin. Let's show the universe what humans can become when we remember who we really are. As the sun set over Cedar Falls, humans and aliens began working together for the first time in thousands of years. The suppression field around the town flickered and died completely. But this time, it was by choice, not accident. Jake Morrison looked up at the stars and thought about the long journey ahead. Humanity was no longer classified as low risk. The shocking truth was that they had never been low risk at all. They were potential,